2019年，我曾经去过伦敦的一所清真寺，在那里和人们一起席地并肩而坐。我印象深刻的不是伊玛目的宣导，而是他走了之后，所有人都没有离开。我身后有一位女性在哭泣，很多人都在安慰她。当时我的父亲刚过世，在那一刻，我也仿佛得到了某种安抚。我能够理解宗教带给人的情感、归属和千百年来温暖的集体记忆。
与此同时，我也明白了为什么哈桑说要把宗教从僵化的字面主义中解放出来，让伊斯兰的核心理念破壳而出，与现代人的心灵结合。这家清真寺是哈桑长大成人的地方。他父亲在1970年代由沙特宗教事务部派驻伦敦，建立了这家最早、最有名的萨拉菲清真寺。所以哈桑曾经热爱科学，但只能按字面理解宗教，认为进化论是独神，被分裂所苦。但最终他意识到自己有选择。2008年11月，哈桑在《卫报》发表文章写道，穆斯林思想家很早就认可适者生存是生物学本质的一部分，科学和宗教可以调和。
Science is science, religion is religion. Why do you need to take a risk and to reconcile them?
So that I'm not schizophrenic.
What was your father's reaction?
At first, he basically said to me, "Osama, you're crazy."
A legacy which I inherited from my forefathers, I kept it, and I'm leaving it for my children. I don't want them to lose that legacy.
Basically, you're not a Salafist anymore.
I'm against the very narrow, rigid interpretation of Salafism and the harshness of trying to enforce it on other people, which a lot of Salafists do. The basic idea about Salafism, which is that don't follow men or authorities, imams, even blindly. You have to go back to the source. You have to see the whole picture, and you have to come up with independent judgment.
当时他这句话震惊了我。我从来没听说过萨拉菲能带来独立思考，但哈桑说，他正是要利用萨拉菲反抗传统教法学派的精神，直抵源头，诠释文本。这篇文章刊出之后，哈桑的反对者签署了联名信，要求他离开清真寺。乌萨马·哈桑要求公开辩论，但是当天这场讨论以冲突结束。
Monkey or gorilla or a chimpanzee knows that they're actually very similar to us.
Oh dear.
And, you're welcome to disagree, but please read.
We have enough knowledge about it.
In simple English, have we descended from apes?
Yes or no? From your view and the Islamic view.
This question has two answers, yes or no. No other answer, just say yes or no. Please be simple and frank, and we'll leave. I said yes already.
You said it millions of times, man. You're talking about Salah when you walk.
画面突然中断之后，有人对哈桑说：“我要杀了你。”
What was your reaction?
Shock and disgust.
How dare you say the Prophet's father was a monkey?
It's just a theory.
The truth that you live and you breathe and you feel for it. You really believe is the truth. You really think people will go to hell if they believe in that. If you attack that, you're attacking your personal identity and who you are. The two become one.
古兰经记载，真主用泥土创造人类始祖亚当，圣战者只能从字面理解文本，认为进化论就是独神，要以暴力回应。2015年，恐怖分子在公园中攻击了哈桑，他在亲人的保护下才逃脱。1年之后，他在电视上看到了那张脸。2016年6月3日，伦敦大桥袭击案的主犯。
Terror attack in London.
As that white van runs off the road on London Bridge, starts ramming pedestrians. At the south end of the bridge, 3 men with long knives get out and start slashing and stabbing people.
It's crazy. The first thing he shouted at me, and that was angry about me, was the evolution issue. You believe we come from apes, you know? So it shows the extremist mindset, how all of these different things are combined.
Did he remind you about yourself when you were young?
Yes, yes, yes. I'll be honest. Yeah, did. Sorry, we also made a lot of mistakes. We are very sorry, and we're going to do our best to put some of that right. Yeah, and I've had Al-Qaeda threats, I've had Al-Shabaab ISIS, I've been attacked by the ISIS.
So did it stop you from keep saying something about evolution?
No. In fact, it's made me more determined to go the opposite. In Britain, the home of Charles Darwin and of many other great scientists like Isaac Newton, to me it's ridiculous that you have tens of thousands, maybe millions of young extreme fundamentalists who are actually teaching their children that basic science is wrong. You can't let those kind of people win, so it's completely unacceptable, the state of affairs.
此后很久，乌萨马哈桑贴在博客里的进化论文章没有任何跟贴，没有辩论，连骂声都没有。对于反对者来说，他已经被驱逐，不再存在。但是将近1年之后，我看到这个博客下出现了一条留言，写着：多年来，我一直面临着心理冲突和迷惑，这是我察觉科学与宗教冲突的结果。接受了进化论，接受了人类由猿起源的事实，我感到巨大的欢欣。书名是苏海尔。
Why?
Because I was a top student in science all the time. I really enjoyed science. There was just this one thing that I didn't believe in, which even to me then seemed like, okay, this is a bit weird. Why am I believing in everything else but not this? And then I looked at his work. It felt amazing reading his stuff. The first thing I did was, is homosexuality real? I realized, okay, it's not something that you can change. And that's when I accepted myself as gay. Once I accepted evolution, it was like a one domino and then all the rest go.
Those things don't link to each other.
No, they do. It comes together as like a package. If you remove a large chunk of this package, change it and then put it back, it's not going to fit back. Like going all the way back to my childhood, that I don't hate my non-Muslim friends. They seem fine. Why should I hate them in my heart? When I was thinking about carrying terror attacks, oh, actually I'm going to be killing innocent people. Why should I be killing them? Once I questioned Adam and Eve's story and I changed that, it gave me this opportunity to change everything else, to question everything else that I thought was wrong too.
What does it mean to you?
And it really meant that I could finally live, accepting myself and be free. The worst prison is the prison in your mind. It's like sitting in a prison cell with the key in your hand.
2010年5月，苏海尔有了恋情，他换了名字，意思是知识。他告诉我，这是一场与过去的了结，他重新定义了自己。
极端主义是靠着压制感受和怀疑建立起来的，但是被压制的东西也可以被唤醒。大卫在监狱中阅读了维克多·雨果的书，讲到一个绝望的死囚如何痛苦和愤怒。他说看这本书时，他背靠着冰冷的墙，黑牢里四壁如铁，老鼠窜动。他第一次意识到，监狱是他人生的象征。他把自己开除出了人类。
Victor Hugo could find words would touch me today. From so far in time and so far in life, I get my skin to speak like that now. It's the first time I speak about in interview. I said to myself, humanity is not so bad. Really?
Sumi, through this book, you can touch another stranger's soul.
Yes, I could feel him as my brother, my son, and my father.
出狱之后不久，大卫帮助了一个穆斯林难民家庭。这家女儿来谢客时，他被女孩的美震惊了。2个星期之后，他登门求婚。2人语言不通，按照传统，女孩要奉一杯茶，如果同意，先端给男性， 如果不同意，茶端给母亲。姑娘把盛着红茶的玻璃杯轻放在他面前。
I burnt myself, but I drank it in one time as vodka. I couldn't speak 2 minutes.
It was hot.
But
how did you feel about the feeling of falling in love?
great, fine. It's the way of life. I like so much to spend time with women now.
Didn't you need them to obey you?
No, because I am stupid, so I will give stupid orders. So I need one clever who say me, you are stupid and will not obey you, okay? Yes.
他笑起来的时候，胸口鼓荡，就像是一个孩子快活到了极点。这给我一种感触：真正驱使狂热者的，不是超自然的神圣命令，而是人性的内在需求。人如果能够认识自我，就不必再逃向别处。
You've been your whole life to chase a question, to seek answer. Who am I? So now, do you got answer?
No. Who am I? No. And I don't want to know.
You don't want to know?
No, I prefer to have little peace every day. It's better.
Why it's better?
Because when you know who you are, it's boring after what you will do with your life.
本耶图退出组织是在2015年梅拉袭击之后，当时第一位受害者是穆斯林，媒体认为这是极有所为，所以本耶图对着追随者大骂袭击者，直到他意识到凶手与他来自同一意识形态。
Là, je pensais qu'il y avait une montée des idées d'extrême droite ici en France et que je pouvais moi-même en être victime. Je m'étais vraiment identifié aux victimes. Et le moment où j'ai découvert ce qui s'est passé, un peu comme tout le monde, là j'ai été très triste. C'était vraiment ça a été assez difficile pour moi.
That's the first time you have this kind of feeling to the victim.
Avant ça, les gens qui mouraient dans les opérations des djihadistes, pour moi, entraient dans des catégories. C'était pas des êtres humains. C'est un traître, c'est un hypocrite, c'est un mécréant. Et là, pour la première fois, je vois l'être humain. Forcément, ce qui vient après, c'est un crime. Forcément, ce qui vient après, vous ne pouvez pas l'expliquer, vous ne pouvez pas l'expliquer. Voilà, ça a été quelque chose de complètement nouveau. C'est comme si à ce moment-là, en fait, je me réhumanisais.
本耶图靠着监狱中拿的学位进入护理学院。他第一次为陌生的女性病人做心电图时，又想逃避，但他知道，面对选择的人生时刻到了。
Vous pouvez faire quelque chose de minime, simplement l'aider à manger, l'aider à marcher, ou bien de changer sa protection, etc. Des petits trucs tout à fait banals. Et puis vous voyez que vous lui avez apporté quelque chose.
What's your feeling when you realize you're able to help this woman?
C'est comme si tout ce à quoi j'avais cru auparavant venait de s'effondrer. Moi, je voulais aider les autres. J'ai adhéré à une idéologie, je voulais attaquer la corruption, établir un ordre juste sur Terre. Finalement, il y avait que des morts. C'est tout. Et là, juste avec des simples choses, que vous aidez les autres.
Who are you now?
Maintenant, aujourd'hui, je suis français, je suis fier de l'être, je suis fier de le dire.
Do you think yourself as a traitor of your religion?
Sûrement pas. Sûrement pas. Je pense que j'ai trahi ma religion pendant très longtemps. J'ai passé toute cette période à mentir, à me faire passer pour qui je n'étais pas. Quand j'étais djihadiste, oui, j'ai trahi ma religion. Pas aujourd'hui. Sûrement pas aujourd'hui.
偏见往往是自我禁锢的结果，而启蒙就是敢于知道。我在曼瓦的家中看到他从天花板一直堆到楼梯的书，他读了10年书，以前被他称为异教徒所写的书。
My Prophet told me, seek knowledge even unto China. So that knowledge could be from anybody, Hindu, Sikh, secular, Muslim, non-Muslim, communist, socialist, who cares? And you become less shallow, more open-minded, broaden your horizon, and you become more appreciative of who you are. I am a human being. I'm part of them. These are human beings.
So you no longer think you hold the only truth?
No, of course not. So I will always try to talk people out of strong attachment to any ideas. So whether it is religion or politics. 15 years ago, you spoke to me, I was speaking with confidence about Islam.
I know what it means. One, eternal, unequaled, and beyond partnership of any kind. That is Allah, your Lord and my Lord.
This is right, that is wrong, follow this, don't be sinful. I read for 15 years, I've learned more, read more, heard more. Now you ask me things I don't know.
Maybe that's the essence of freedom.
Yeah, so I'm relieved. It's like something gone off. I'm free.
这些人的回答给我一个震动。真正的转变，不是找到了真理，是不再寻找终极真理；不是找到了答案，而是不再需要一个单一的答案；不是找到了一个身份，而是拥有一个永远开放、不断更新的身份。人类的身份建立在一个故事之上，恐怖主义的招募要靠讲故事，而这些脱身而出的人可以成为有力的反叙事者。2018年初，大卫和政治伊斯兰专家艾米丽成立了伊斯兰和激进主义分析中心。他在监狱和学校与激进者对话。
With these young people, you don't get to say you are wrong, I'm right. Don't give the answers. Only ask questions, but the right one. You get to give to subject the way to think one more time, to use his mind.
哈桑放弃了科学研究，以反极端主义为职业。他和同事出版了《对抗恐怖》，逐一推翻 ISIS 的法学文本。在中世纪地图的二元世界之外，他引用了14世纪萨拉菲的鼻祖泰米叶的教令，给生活在非穆斯林统治者之下的穆斯林第三种选择：多种宗教的复合制定。他在用伊斯兰的法律框架说服激进者，欧洲穆斯林与所在的国家有契约，不能视为战地。
Democracy is compatible with Islam, how the duties of citizenship are actually religious duty. So there's no problem with Muslims being good citizens of Britain, Europe, America, wherever.
曼瓦在英国国土安全计划中与政府合作，打击暴力激进主义。他去监狱和学校与每一种激进者交谈。他每一个斋月都邀请英国的极右组织成员参加。他对我说：“对话，倾听。”发问，否则你永远无法说服一个人。
Some people don't like you. They're not monsters. They can't be monsters. They have been infused with hate, like we have infused people with hate.
我在英国萨福克郡见到了伊万，他的胳膊上刺着 EDL， 这是英国最大的极右组织的名字。他是原东部地区的领导人。2012年，他带着人上门挑战曼瓦。
When I first went to Manwar and Kinneil, really, some of the things I was saying was quite extreme to some people. Manwar and Kinneil never judged me because of his background as a former jihadist. He understood me, my anger, my frustration, because the same things of 30 years ago led him in a similar direction. When I said about the killing people of the Quran, he said, "Yes, Ivan, that's true. But the book hasn't really adapted. It's up to the person to adapt, not the book."
So when Manwar allowed you to criticize his religion, how did you feel about that?
When you're able to challenge somebody and say what you want, it empowers you as well, because if you're not given that chance to talk about that view or explore it anyway, how are you going to change? How are you going to learn? How are you going to move on?
2013年6月，曼瓦和伊万一起组织了纪念恐怖袭击中受害的英国士兵的游行。曼瓦的小女儿带来了一大束花朵，分发给每一个人。不久之后， 伊万参与了最后一次 EDL 的游行。以往他都是举着旗走在最前面，高喊着反移民、反穆斯林的口号。为此，他可以和自己的孩子决裂，为此他可以去死。但这一次，整个过程中他一声未出，只是看着脚。此后，他退出了组织。
I just didn't fit in their bubble anymore.
Why?
A bubble, a room, it's just somewhere where you're trapped in. And it's not until the bubble pops that you see a bigger picture or things change. Forget that label. It's time to look at people as human beings.
我看到伊万的另一只手臂上纹着另一行字，这是2016年被极右刺杀的英国工党议员乔·考克斯生前所讲的一句话：我们的相似远多于不同。不是每个极端主义者都能够改变，但是他们揭示了改变的可能和路径。文明不会在一个社会自动获得，它是教育的结果。哈耶克说过，如果不能够捍卫理性和人道主义，每个国家都有可能倒退回原始状态。要让旧真理保留在大脑中，必须在后代人的语言和观念中不断重生。而在采访中，我听到的最坚决的声音来自穆斯林。
Ja, en als je het hier niet ziet zitten, omdat je humoristen niet ziet zitten die een krantje maken, ja, mag ik het zo zeggen, rot toch op.
查理周刊袭击发生之后，这是欧洲政治人物对恐怖主义最直接的批评。来自荷兰鹿特丹的一位穆斯林市长，他管理着一个来自于175个国家移民的城市。在给新移民颁发护照的时候，他说：“我给你的不是一个旅行证。” 而是一个身份。
If someone is not satisfied with freedoms that we love to have in Europe, then there is no place for you in Europe.
But some people told me they feel uncomfortable just because they think you don't protect your own people.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
There is not such a thing as own people. I have my own people, that is 640,000 citizens of Rotterdam. The limit is the law, and the limit is violence.
鹿特丹市长对我说过，基督教有200年的时间与现代性磨合，而伊斯兰随着大规模移民进入现代欧洲，刚刚50年，需要时间和耐心。
I think that in the long term there will be European Islam. I believe in that. That is a kind of equilibrium between the constitutions in Europe. Based on humanity, based on freedoms, on protection of minorities, and the way the Muslims will grow up in Europe and show the connection between democracy, humanism, and the Islam. The Islam, we know the word shura, and shura is dialogue, that is consulting. أمرهم شورة بينهم. The things are subject to dialogue or to negotiations, and that is the core business of democracy.
我的一位西班牙朋友知道我采访了一位穆斯林市长，他很吃惊地问我，他是什么样的穆斯林？我说这个人根本不会让你想到这个问题。另一个给过我这种感觉的人是穆罕默德梅拉袭击案的第一位受害者。这位穆斯林士兵拒绝在凶手的枪口下屈服，他站着死去。当我看他视频的时候，他与周围的人是如此浑然一体。我不会去想他是不是穆斯林，因为那是他的内在信仰，不是他的外在身份。
这是他母亲拉提法的教育。在儿子遇难1个月之后，拉提法去了凶手穆罕默德梅拉童年的街区，知道了他被父母抛弃。4岁起在街头长大，9岁进入孤儿院。
Et c'est pour ça que j'ai pardonné à Mohamed Merah.
He was the one who killed your son. If you chose to forgive him, how could you tell Imad about this forgiveness?
J'ai pardonné si qu'il était, parce qu'il avait aucune chance. Il n'a pas trouvé quelqu'un pour le récupérer, pour le cadrer, pour l'aimer. Il a trouvé quelqu'un pour le mettre en danger, parce qu'il était très fragile. C'est pour ça que je dis aux parents, l'éducation, elle est importante.
1个月后， 他以儿子的名字成立了青年协会。他认为法国不能够只关其危险者，必须像萨拉菲一样深入人群，寻找脆弱的少年。
Dans la main vos enfants. Êtes vigilants. Protégez-les. Cadrez-les. Aimez-les vos enfants. Donnez de l'amour. Viens, Hans. Viens. Alors, viens. Je te vois, tu es triste. Tu es triste.
What's the key point of this radicalization?
Si on ne s'occupe pas de l'enfant dernière section de maternelle, on ne pourra pas savoir quelle chance que pour donner à l'enfant jusqu'au collège, c'est trop tard.
曼瓦说，要防御他这样的招募者，最好的办法就是让孩子们从童年起学会提问。
What is this God? Why must God exist?
But a lot of people will think it's offensive.
Offensive to what? It's not offensive. We want to encourage healthy, robust debate, whether about foreign policy, Israel, Palestine, anything. Bring anything on the table, talk about it. You should be able to come to a sixth form school, 15, 16-year-olds, and talk about, in Islam, it says that Muslims should stone adulterers. What do you think? So it's not about what does Islam say, what does scholars say. All you have done is ask the people, what do you think? If you don't even do that, how would they later on know how to connect with their hearts, their conscience, and the human values?
But nowadays, a lot of people see this kind of topic as taboos. They don't dare to
you
talk
have to
about
break
it.
They're not taboos, there never were taboos, there shouldn't be taboos. If I don't control how you think and what you mustn't discuss, then I can't really keep my followers. As simple as that.
苏海尔认为，教育体系应该随着现实调整。比如教授进化论的时候，不要只提供答案，要充分讨论相关的争议。
I really wish that the kind of that information was there, was provided.
What if they did?
I might have, just closed my ears and not listened. I might have done that. Or I might have listened and then a year later I might have, you know what?
So it's like a seed.
Yeah.
Je suis également l'époux de Loubna Lafkiri, l'amour de ma vie, décédé lors des attentats du 22 mars 2016 à Bruxelles.
莫伦比克的摩洛哥后裔穆罕默德·巴齐里在恐怖袭击中失去了妻子。他认为，教育者应该教给下一代哲学、艺术、音乐，因为通往人的心灵之路，就通往真正的伊斯兰。他参与了市议员的选举，为3个孩子的未来而战。
L'islam, c'est pas le wahhabisme. L'islam, c'est pas le salafisme. L'islam, c'est une spiritualité avant tout, et c'est une façon de croire, une façon de voir, qui est pensée, repensée, et qui sera encore pensée dans des siècles. C'est comme ça. D'essayer de se connaître, faire un travail d'introspection, et essayer de connaître tout ce qu'il y a autour de nous. Pour moi, c'est le meilleur moyen de lutter contre toute forme d'obscurantisme et d'intolérance. Le Socrate, pour moi, il prend tout son sens, c'est important.
在采访结束时，巴齐里送给我他写的书。在这本书中，他写道：“我不管我是亚当的子孙还是进化论的结果，我只相信3点：一，生命神圣不可侵犯；二，个人意志自由；三，人类的兄弟情谊。”巴齐里是地铁司机，拉提法是学校厨师，鹿特丹市长是一个15岁时还在摩洛哥放羊的赤脚少年。如果不是恐怖袭击，我看不到，也听不到他们。但是他们的存在就是示范，以常识、理性、人道主义对抗一切狂热。人类的身份建立在一个故事之上。凯佩尔教授说：“讲好故事的人类。”
C'est juste un piège. Moi, personnellement, je suis tombé dans ce piège.
The best way is to give them one doute.
And once you stop yourself from thinking, you're gone.
Et qui en aucun cas n'impose sa vérité.
Ma confession, je suis musulmane. Et ma nationalité, je suis française, citoyenne.
Well, people present
a harsh, intolerant version of Islam, they are defaming the Prophet.
Let go of anger, hatred, and violence. Approach the world, life with love. This is jihad, my true jihad.
But how can you face the reality? A lot of followers just die there for the cause.
Yeah, so that's when you have emotional time to yourself. You cry to your God, you do prayers, and you get a black mark there.
So it's a heavy burden.
I can talk a lot about doing nice things now to save or help and repent and nice talk. But as you said, some people died. I didn't. I hope God forgives me. I do want paradise. But do I deserve it? Why? Can you forgive yourself? No, you can't. You mustn't. I don't think you should allow yourself to. If I killed your brother, and you say you can forgive me that I've killed your brother, but if I am the murderer, how do I forgive myself for killing your brother? You are personally accountable to God if you believe in God. If there is no God, you have to live with your own conscience.
2021年8月17日上午10点，在兰布拉的米罗马赛克上，纪念袭击受害者的仪式开始。没有官方讲话，只有一位黑衣男子，一把椅子和一支大提琴。这支曲子叫《鸟之歌》，它曾经是歌颂耶稣降生的宗教歌曲。很多年之后，加泰罗尼亚的艺术家把它化为给人心灵的普遍安慰。小鸟的歌唱只有一句：和平，和平，和平。这支曲子不是战歌，它的曲调悲哀沉静，因为经历过灾难的人知道和平的艰难，但这张颤抖的琴弓不可征服。哈维的父亲站在人群的最前方，他儿子倒下的地方。他握着前妻的手，女儿不在他们身边。当琴声落下时，他拿着一支白蔷薇，前走几步，插入了花坛。就在他俯身的一瞬间，我看到他亲吻了一下手掌，用手拍了几下地，就像是一个父亲在拍儿子的肩膀。哈维如果活着，他应该7岁了。我穿过人群找到他，有一肚子的话想要说，但是什么也说不出来。我只问了一句：“你女儿还好吗？”他拥抱了我。只有在大灾难中，我得到过这样的拥抱。只有悲伤到不可诉说的人，才有如此沉重的分量，在陌生人的肩头。兰布拉改变了我。5年前来到这里时，我自视为是一个外来者，是他打破了我孤立和逃避的本能。很多个夜晚，在离家万里的大路上，从桌前抬起头，看到窗外明月广照大地，在沉浸在别人的故事中忘记我自己时，我知道了我是谁。
在《古兰经》中，我领悟到陌生人的另一重含义：神分割人类，是为了让他们相互认识。
我女儿问我：“妈妈，你写的故事叫什么？”我说：“叫陌生人。”她说：“你为什么要写关于陌生人的事？”我告诉她拉提法说过的故事。当她还是一个摩洛哥小女孩的时候，看到一具棺木从街上经过，她的母亲拉着她的手，停脚注视， 直到这辆车消失。他问妈妈：“我们不认识这个人，为什么要这么做？”他母亲说：“因为会有一天，陌生人也会为我们停下脚。”